should be all set up. Get chat up on my laptop monitor. But otherwise, we're good to go. Oh, I need to not forget my coffee. My coffee desk would be bad. I got it. We're fine. Everything is fine. But good morning. Welcome, friends. It is Sunday again, somehow, inexplicably. Yeah, and here we are. Definitely totally awake, ready, and waiting for more yarn. All right. I hope everybody is having a good Sunday morning so far. As usual, we're going to be working on this monster. And within the next 24 to 48 hours, probably, the notices should be going out about whether or not things have been accepted into the craft along for the year. So within the next 24 to 48 hours, I should know whether I'm doing this on a deadline or if I'm just doing it for myself. Because this blanket is getting finished regardless. It does not get accepted into the craft along. It is still being finished because I want it for myself. If it does get accepted into the craft along, this one is being finished for the craft along. And then I'm going to be making a second one for myself because I want it for myself. So that'll be fun. So you might end up getting to see this whole process twice. I did remember to bring my crochet hook upstairs this time. Okay. Let's get to work here. While waiting for the laptop to cooperate, bring up a web browser so that I can pull up chat, because I forgot to do that last night before I shut my computer down. But that's fine. We're fine. In roughly 50 minutes at the top of the hour, there will be a D&D recap. We did indeed have a session yesterday. A dragon was continued to be fought. Events occurred. So those will be recapped at 11. So stick around if that is a thing that interests you. There we go. Thank you, Twitch. I now have access to chat. Wahahaha. Good morning, everyone. Properly this time. It's finally happened? Oh no, what's finally happened? Yeah, sorry, Kite. I was indeed, because I'm poking at my... Okay, there we go. Now we're set. Sorry, my computer was being slow enough. Would love for the one that spits fire to be named Pukladaki. Ah, like Phuket. Fair, fair. Okay. I have to question what has finally happened, though. Since I do not have access to see... Well, like, I can see the ducks, but not in any detail. They are far away. Oh, palm burner. Fair. For some reason, my brain went straight to Monster Hunter first, even though Phuket is not a fire monster. I don't know. But yes, I will do this thing. Pukladaki. Got it. Concerning, but I will do the thing. Oh. Very. Okay. Okay. Right. Let me mark that. Given time, you will make the whole Moggle squad, Moggle's Guard. I don't know why I read that as Moggle Squad, but I feel like that also fits. It's not an inaccurate title. Moggle Squad, assemble! Exactly. Uh-huh. Tell me all about it. The loud cars and motorcycles have been out in force lately. Fortunate. Not really much of anything I can do about it. Ooh, is that a suggestion, kits? Oh, I would love that. Burn them all. Okay. One more stitch. The gray. Your new computer mouse is here and it's shaped like a little kitty face. Amazing. Out here. One in. That's easy enough. Of Kitty, Sasha is Eepy Ball. Yeah, that seems correct. That's where I left her. And that does tend to be her Sunday morning default. Is Eepy Ball. Okay. double checking where I need to drop my green for the next row. You good, Kara? But also bless you. Next strand is getting dropped. Okay. You can cross off Big Mountain video off your to-do list. Ooh! I'm excited to see that. Excellent. Congrats, Kits. Not only is that a huge Minecraft project, you made like a huge video about it. I'm excited. I wish I had gotten to tune into more of the streams, but unfortunately your Tuesday time slot is smack in the middle of when I'm at work. Sometimes I'm lurking, but it depends on what I have to do that day. Alright. Flip this around. Eh. Oh god. Okay. Okay, everything is fine. We're fine. We're all fine here. How are you? And my weekday stream is almost always 5 to 10 minutes after you lie down for bed. Yeah. The sadness of time zones. That said, so tomorrow, I'll mention this toward the end of stream as well, but tomorrow is a holiday here in Canada, so I have the day off work. So Kara and I are planning to do our randomizer stream earlier tomorrow, and probably go for a bit longer than we normally do, but definitely earlier. So hopefully maybe you'll be able to catch a little bit more, at least for tomorrow. I'm here. Big yawn. Hi, Randus. That sure is a mood. Not even a Sasha hair. Knee hair. Wait, one. Five, six, seven, eight. Hooray! I counted things correctly. My math is right. Morning, Merlin. Oh. Candace, you need to go back to bed. I do appreciate you coming for the recaps, though. It is very helpful when I inevitably forget about things. But yes, reminder, in about 10-ish minutes, we will be diving into the D&D recap. So if you need to get up, use the bathroom, grab refills on your drinks before that, please do so. Because trust me, you're not going to want to miss this recap. Okay. Barbie is so purple now. Pasta bake. No! I'm so sad for you kids. Chicken tikka masala is delicious. You did pattern? Huh. I mean, pasta bake is also delicious. I hope you also enjoy the pasta bake. The chicken tikka masala is pretty good. It's so sad to lose that to a fridge. Curse you, electricity! Actually do some slight untangling here. Come here, green. There. This should be 4, 5, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hooray! Love when the counting works. Alright, so last time on Cursed D&D Adventures, I didn't think that through. We had climbed up Ice Spire Peak and fought and defeated the... Any reason for Bram not to bless himself? Sort of. Yes, I will get to that. Hey, Elrad. Yeah, last time on the Platinum Dragoons. We had climbed Ice Spire Peak. We had fought and defeated the Horde Mimic that was mimicking the treasure of the dragon that we so foolishly touched. We had acquired 2 magic items. However, we did not stop to identify them or attune to them or anything that might have been useful, because we knew the dragon was coming, and we were like, you know what, we're here, F it, let's go fight the dragon. So we had headed up to the roof. Yeah, no resting before the dragon fight, it's fine. To be fair, at the end of the mimic fight, we were, HP wise, we were in pretty good shape because Light and Glint both have healing resources that they can like apply and then burn things to get their resources back. So they were able to do like snap healing at the end of the mimic fight and refresh themselves, and we were actually in pretty good shape HP wise before we went up to engage the dragon. The bigger stupidity, I think, was not stopping to examine those magic items more closely. But we didn't. We headed up to the roof. We arrayed ourselves across the slippery, difficult terrain of the icy roof. You know, it's a dragon, so we were trying to spread ourselves out a bit. It didn't work super well. The dragon arrived, and we commenced the fight. And last session we got a couple rounds in, did a little bit of damage to the dragon, more damage to ourselves, and then ended up pausing, or like, you know, breaking for last session at the top of the round in the midst of the dragon fight. So this time, when we picked up, we were continuing dragon fight. Yes, Mint is the second smartest party member after Phalar. So yes, the joke is that Mint has the brains, but Mint is actually the second smartest. It is in fact Phalar. None of the rest of us. Definitely none of the rest of us. So, we pick up this session with the dragon hovering. Well, not hovering. She does not have the hover ability, but, you know, flying around above us in midair, refusing to come down into sword range. Oh, Basil is tied with Mint. Okay. For some reason, I thought that Basil was a point lower. But okay, fair enough. Basil and Mint are tied for the second smartest in the party. So, yeah, Cryovane is flying around, making a nuisance of herself, using her legendary actions to pounce on party members to claw them in between her actual turns. She has a fun little bead of cold that she can throw that creates this sphere of, like, condensing, freezing mist, where if you don't make a save, you end up frozen to the ground. That will, I'm sure, not become relevant at all. And, of course, she has her dragon breath. So, This is why I like playing Basil when you can't. I get to make sensible decisions. Fair. Yeah, Light and Glint and Bram are not smart. Not the brains of the party. Oh, so yes, so Bram had in fact blessed other party members. His reason in this particular instance for not laying bless on himself was he was specifically thinking of the ice and wanting to give other people a little bit more advantage to their checks to move around on the ice. With his spiked horseshoes, he didn't have any problems moving around, so he, in that instance, was preferring to give bless to other people. But it was twofold. So it was, one was he wanted to help the other, because he blessed specifically Basil, Phalar, and Light. And A, he wanted to give them the chance to move around more easily, and B, he figured that the three of them, particularly Phalar with his spells and Light with his monk bullshit, would have an easier time hitting the dragon. Bram kind of knew going into this, especially after two of his spells failed to hit, that unless they could get the dragon down, he was not going to be hitting the dragon. So he was more concerned about trying to increase everybody else's chances. People that had a better chance anyway of hitting the dragon, let's see if we can boost that even further, was kind of his thoughts. So yeah, so that was kind of Bram's reasoning behind blessing who he did and not blessing himself. Other times he has blessed himself, I think. But yeah, in this specific instance, it was the combination of trying to help other people move around on the ice and also boost other people's chances of hitting the dragon for good damage, when Bram knew that his own chances of hitting the dragon were pretty low anyway. Like I said, unless we could get her down somehow. Which we'll get there. Sort of. So at the start of this session, at the top of the round, Bram was already on pretty low HP and also frozen to the ground, which is fun. Cryovane decided that she was going to fly around to the sort of the north side of the keep again and unleash. Well, so first, Brandis does a great thing where when there's something with the enemies, like a breath weapon, where on each of Cryovane's turns, you roll a d6, and if the result is a 6, then she recharges her breath weapon. If it's not a 6, she doesn't. So that's kind of rather than having spell slots, that's kind of how D&D handles boss monsters with very powerful abilities. So she can't just use it over and over, but there is a chance that she'll regain a use of it every turn. So Brandis does a thing where he'll have the players actually roll that dice to make it on them whether or not the boss recharges their abilities, rather than, and it's not just like a dragon's breath weapon. A lot of big boss enemies will have something like that. They'll have some kind of very powerful, like, ultimate attack that they can only use once, and then they have to wait for it to recharge, and the recharge is usually a dice roll. And so he'll have us do those dice rolls. Yeah, for her, I believe it was a 5 or a 6 that would have recharged her breath weapon. So yeah, it's roughly a 33% chance that it'll get recharged each round. So this time, it got around to Cryovane's turn, and Brandis picked on Merlin and had Merlin roll the die, and she did indeed recharge her breath weapon. So she kind of cackled to herself a little bit and flew up to the north side of the keep, where she would be able to do a cone, and managed to, I believe with this one, catch everybody except Arendiau. Because I think she even caught Phalar with this one. Might not have quite been able to catch Phalar, I don't remember. But for sure, he caught Bram and Glint and Basil and Light in this cone of freezing breath. And oh no, she did catch Phalar. Yeah, she caught everybody except Arendiau. Um, However, Basil, sorry, no, Phalar made his save, and then was also able to reduce the damage still further using one of his abilities. The rest of us, I believe, all failed. So, Basil and Light and Bram and Glint all failed their saves. Bram and Glint and Basil all had advantage on it and still managed to fail. Bram rolled 2 3s. This becomes a pattern, as you will see, for this session. But yes, Bram had advantage on this roll and rolled 2 3s. Same number, 2 different die. So that was fun. So the cold hits. Bram and Basil both go down, unconscious immediately. Glint and Light go down to a sliver. Like, I'm talking, I think Light had 2 HP, and I think Glint might have had 3. Like, they both stayed awake through, like, the skin of the fuzzy tails. Of course, with Bram going down, Bless drops. So that's a problem. Yeah, and to be fair, her breath DC is 9. But like I said, rolling 2 3s for Bram didn't help. But yeah, it is a very high DC. Oh, Light might have succeeded, and that's why they stayed up. Oh, perhaps yes. Yeah, you might be right, because I think Light was pretty low on HP anyway. So I think you're right. They took half damage and survived on a sliver. Yeah, I think you're right on that, Kite. It helps that Con is actually Phalar's second best save. Oh, for a wizard, that's impressive. So that was fun. So Glint immediately, like, kind of, understandably, freaks out a little bit. Throws a, for this entire session, Light has at most 20 HP. Yes, it's true. No, I'm wrong. So she hits us with the Cone of Breath. And then it is immediately Bram's turn next. Bram... the one thing that I managed the entire session. So I have one of the things that I personally like to do for D&D is that I have a set of dice for each. Like, I have a bunch of dice that are just kind of generic, like these are dice. But for each of my D&D characters, there's current like the ones that I've played a long time and like really developed and have like very good personalities. Each of them have their set of dice. So Bram has a set of dice that are just his. I only use them to roll for Bram. If I'm playing one of my other characters, that set of dice gets put away, and then I take out that character's, like the other character's dice set. So I have specific Bram dice that are his dice. So for rolling this death save, I was like, alright, screw it. I'm gonna use Bram's d20. So I did, and rolled a nat 20. So a nat 20 on a death save means that you immediately stabilize with regain 1 HP and come conscious again. So that was good. So Bram immediately like stabilizes and like wakes himself up. Like, I don't know, maybe Bahamut just kind of sighed and like reached down and like poked him or something. I don't know. But he regains 1 HP and immediately woke up. That was fantastic. And rolling a nat 20 on a death save means that you then get your like full turn. So he gets like an actual turn. So he got up, moved to be a little bit more central. So Bless had now dropped because he had gone unconscious. So rather than recasting Bless, instead he chose to cast Crusader's Mantle, which would allow anybody hitting with a weapon attack or an unarmed strike to do extra radiant damage, which he thought might be helpful. Meanwhile, Glint, and also on his turn, Bram was able to shuffle over to nudge a hoof against Basil, and used lay on hoof to wake Basil back up as well. So Basil is now also stabilized, restored with some HP, is laying flat on the ground, but is awake and not dead. Yes, okay. I was gonna get to that. I need to take better notes in combat because I remember things that happen. I don't remember the exact order in which they happen. You are correct. Thank you, Kite. Before this, you're right, it was before. Basil had used the vial launcher to lob a vial of oil at Cryovane. Unfortunately, we had already used our couple vials of Alchemist's Fire, but he lobbed oil at Cryovane and hit, so it did, a little bit of piercing damage, and then also, covered, doused her, her chest and her front legs in oil. And then Phalar was able to use a chromatic orb to set her on fire. Which would have been fantastic if it had stayed as such. So she was kind of wreathed in this flame as the oil that was soaking her front caught light. And on her turn, I believe at the end of her turn, if she was still on fire, she would have taken an amount of damage. Unless she used her turn to put herself out. Jump in water, roll in the ice, something. However, when it got to her turn, she used her... Yeah, this dragon is on fire! She used her layer action to sort of encase herself in this, glittering, gleaming... It wasn't even a coat, it was just a thin sheen of ice that sort of just formed around her, almost like a coating of armor. And it, unfortunately, because it formed around her out of the freezing condensation in the air, so it did put out the fire, unfortunately. But it gave her, yeah, I bet she looked so cool and pretty. So imagine a holographic sticker, that sort of or a prismatic effect, where as she was moving and the light was hitting her, it was throwing rainbows and really cool prismatic light. Yeah, I bet she looked amazing. Yes, you are correct, Randus. Layer actions always happen on 20, not on her turn. It just so happened that the way that she rolled initiative, that her initiative count was at I don't think it was 20, but it was 21. It was right next to the layer action. So for this particular... Okay, 17. But there was nothing between the layer action and her turn. So for this particular combat, the layer action happened and then her turn happened immediately after. So it in my brain, it was kind of condensing together. But yes, you are correct. Layer actions do always happen on 20, not on the enemy's turn. So yes, so she got herself encased in this prismatic ice armor that put out the fire, unfortunately, and also gave her some resistances to some damages, which we will come to find out. So yeah, Bram was able to use Lay on Hoof to get Basil at least conscious again. I believe that is when yeah, and then he moved and cast Crusader's Mantle, hoping that it would do something. Because I think at this point in the fight, Bram has not resigned himself, but Bram has internalized okay, I'm not, unless the dragon comes down, I'm not going to be able to hit this dragon. I need to try to be able to buff my allies, essentially. I need to I need to heal, I need to support allies, I need to try to keep everybody else up so that they can hit the dragon, because clearly I am not hitting the dragon. was kind of Bram's thought process at this point. Like, if she comes down in range, sure, but Bram has very limited range options. So he was like, okay, I need to save my spell slots. I need to not fling spells that are going to miss anyway when I could be using these spell slots for healing and support. That's what he did. Glint used her... So as a reminder, so Glint had activated, at the beginning of the fight, Glint had activated her Channel Divinity, which allows her to create a illusion duplicate of herself, and the duplicate can move, and Glint can cast spells through the duplicate. So what she was able to do is she actually moved the duplicate up next to Light, and then was able to cast a Cure Wounds on Light through the doppelganger. So she was able to restore, I think, like 45 points of HP to Light, a whole bunch of HP to Light. And then Glint sort of scrambled her way back inside. Sort of like, okay, I'm in the way. I don't want to like be a target. I have, you know, a tiny little sliver of HP. I'm gonna go inside to try to, like, you know, protect myself from more dragon breath, get out of the way, regroup, heal myself a bit, and then I can come back out swinging, kind of thing. So she scrambled her way. She did fail her dex save and fall on her ass, and then kind of like got back up, popped feline agility, and I was imagining a tabaxi sort of like scramble crawling across the ice to get back inside. And she was able to then, on her following turn, cast a Cure Wounds on herself, get herself kind of back up to a reasonable amount of HP, and sort of get ready to go back out into it. Meanwhile, Kite, where do I begin with Light? So once Glint was able to restore a large chunk of HP to Light, Light was kind of like, thank you. And then on their turn, they were able to, you know, move and do things. Yeah, go monk bullshit. Exactly. So they were able to move over underneath Cryovane. And as a reminder, Light has this cool Eldritch Claw tattoo that allows them, when they activate it, it activates for a number of rounds. And while it is active, Light's melee range is 15 feet. Or 10 feet? No, 15 feet. So it's like, it's this tattoo that when they activate it, it like comes to life, and there's like a shadowy kind of extra appendage is kind of what I've been picturing, that sort of blooms around them and is able to like punch for them, kind of thing. So surprised that none of us thought to use the covered area as a bunker to protect us from her pouncing. Yeah, that's fair. I think my thought on that was like, if we go inside, we lose vision on her, and Bram at least did not want to lose sight of her and where she was. I can't speak for any of the others, but that was Bram's thought. He was like, frick no, I'm not. I'm keeping my eye on this dragon. You got to voluntarily move twice this entire combat and feel you made the correct choice both times. So, yeah. So Light gets over to the dragon and is able to use their 15-foot melee range to punch her a bunch of times. Do better at saves next time. We were trying. So Light has this cool thing called Stunning Strike, where they'll hit her, and if she and there's a they'll hit her and then she has to make a save. And if she doesn't make the save, she's stunned for the turn, which I believe is like no action, no bonus action, no movement. She's just like paralyzed for a turn, essentially, because she's stunned. Would that also have knocked her out of the air? I think it might have, because her speed would be... Well, no. It might have actually knocked her out of the air. And, of course, she probably would have burned a legendary resistance to, you know, to not do that. But then that would have burned one of her legendary resistances, which is good, because the more of those that we can burn, if we manage to burn through all of them, then maybe we can actually start inflicting status conditions on her. So getting to burn them is still a good thing. But however, if she makes the save, her speed is still halved, I think. Her speed is still halved for until the end of Light's next turn. So in this particular case, Cryovane did make the save, so she didn't have to burn her legendary resistance. But she was still on reduced speed. And then Basil also did something that reduced her speed by like 10, but I don't remember what that was. I think it was Basil. She got hit by something else that reduced her speed by 10. Oh yeah, the bolts. So yeah, she got hit with Basil's crossbow bolts that also reduced her speed because of the crossbow mastery. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Merlin. I knew it was something and I couldn't remember what it was. So her speed was reduced by 10 from Basil hitting her with a crossbow bolt. And then also Light was able to hit them and reduce her speed by half further. So she's like way down in speed. And then Light was able to punch her a couple times for like actual damage. And was able to inflict poison on her due to another bit of monk bullshit. And the poison had no save associated with it, so she couldn't burn a legendary resistance on it because there was nothing to resist. It's just a thing that happens. She just becomes poisoned again until the end of Light's next turn. And then yes, this by the way is all the first attack, which was a crit. This is true. So Light did a crap ton of damage to her because then they also got to hit with the second attack, which was less stuff but still damage, which I believe was also a hit. You didn't miss until your second round. So yeah, that was all. That was a bunch of punching, and then Light made a decision that Kite will have to explain. Because Light's decision after a bunch of punching was then to climb up the parapets. Because keep in mind, we're on the roof of this keep, so the floor is ice. The edges of the roof are there's like 3-foot tall crenellations. So like what you stereotypically think of when you think of like the edge of a castle roof, like that waist high, like stone fencing to keep people from just walking off the roof. And then it's a sheer drop, down the side of the keep. So Light decides that they're gonna go up and over the parapet and hang on the wall on the outside, like 10 feet down or 5 feet down below like the edge of the roof. I don't understand Light's logic for that. Okay. That does make some logical sense. So it breaks up a bunch of lines of sight, so Light can't be hit with a bunch of the like AoE stuff that's been plaguing us on the roof. And because of monk bullshit, they can freely run around on the wall, as opposed to the ice, because the ice is difficult terrain and requires those slippy checks, which the wall does not. Okay, I suppose that's fair. That is sound logic, especially for Light. So yeah, so Light goes up and over the parapets and hangs the, like, grabs onto the wall, you know, like 3 points of contact, on the outside of the wall about 5 feet down. Arendiao has the idea to do the same thing. Well, that's okay, that's a little bit later. Kara has made a point. Backing up slightly. On Glint's turn, before she goes scrambling back indoors, at the start of her turn, her vision kind of goes like a little bit blurry and purple. You know, that very distinct purpley color that she has come to associate with her patron. Because as a reminder, Glint is a warlock. And her patron is a Fey dragon, who is very heavily associated with glittery purple colors. So at the start of her turn, her vision kind of goes purpley. And Glint's kind of like, Bael, not the time, busy here. But when her vision clears again, when she looks up at Cryovane, she has this, like, she can get this extra information. She just, like, suddenly knows some stuff about Cryovane. So, above table, this is Kara's birthday present for this year. And if you've ever played a Final Fantasy game or, like, a similar JRPG, a lot of them have a spell or an ability that's like scan or analyze, where they can kind of look at an enemy and kind of get a sense, maybe not details, but get like a sense of their strengths and weaknesses. And that's what Glint has here. So this first time she got a free cast of it. It just kind of happened automatically when Bael gave it to her. From now on, it is in fact a spell that she will have to consciously cast. Or, sorry, no, it's not a spell. She has a certain number of them that she can use per short rest. But it is a thing that she'll have to manually activate. It doesn't just happen automatically. And it gives her the enemy's CR, so their difficulty rating, essentially. It gives her their best save and their worst save, so we can kind of get a sense of what an enemy's strength and weaknesses might be. We get the enemy's highest stat and their lowest stat. So again, kind of getting a sense of what their strengths and weaknesses might be. And then we also learn their passive perception. So that could be useful if we're, like, you know, maybe trying to sneak somewhere or fly under the radar. Ability score. Thank you. Well, I mean, that, yeah, okay. Yeah. And you don't get to know the numbers, just which one, like which category. So for instance, with Cryovane, she was a CR 14. Her best save, there were 3 that were tied. So Randus told us strength and was not going to tell us the other 2, which is fair. Her worst save was, charisma. Her worst save was charisma. But then conversely, for her like actual stats, her best stat was, oh god, I don't remember the details. Yeah, and the DM was extra nice and gave it to everyone instead of just Glint. Although, in future, Glint will be able to communicate this information. Like, she'd be able to yell, you know, like, hit her with charisma, guy, or like, you know, don't bother with strength, or whatever. She would be able to communicate this information to the party, once she learns it. So yeah, that was fun. Mental scan of happenings. Yes, that's true, and she doesn't do it often, but she can just telepathy. That is also true. She is able to do the telepathies. Um, so with Light sort of hanging off the edge of the wall, 5 feet down, out of sight of everybody else, Cryovane decides, ooh, that looks like, this little cat just punched me a bunch. And also now they're hanging temptingly off the wall. And yes, and that's the other thing, and her movement is heavily restricted. So realistically, from where she's currently positioned, if she wants to do her legendary action like pouncy things, she can only reach either Arendiao or Light. And Arendiao hasn't like done a ton to like piss her off currently, but Light just punched her a bunch. So she decides to go after Light. So she has just enough movement that she's able to like go over the edge after Light and go down to, attempt to hit Light a bunch. Which some of them miss. I think the first set misses. However, she is able to get a couple of hits in. On Light, slowly sort of chipping down their HP, which is unfortunate. Yeah, you survive a full round on the wall. She hits you like 3 or 4 times. I think 1 or 2 of them missed. But Light does end up taking several angry, scrabbly claw rends from the very angry white dragon. And then they attempt to punch back, which works somewhat. Do a little bit more damage to her. But then she also throws out another one of those little beads of cold. And so the way that this works, because it's sort of a condensing of the air itself, like the air itself freezes, it was ruled that Light being like over the edge of the wall does not save them. They still get caught because it is kind of a sphere. It's not like the breath, which would have been blocked by the wall. This is more of a sphere. So yeah, so they get caught in this frozen bubble, and I believe on this one everybody failed their saves. So Light, Bram, Basil, and Phalar might have made his, because I don't think Phalar ever got frozen. But yeah, so Light, Basil, Bram, and Arendiao all got frozen in place. Arendiao at this point, so I jumped ahead a tiny bit again. So Arendiao, when the dragon went over the wall, Arendiao had also hopped up to stand on the parapets so that she could get enough of a line of sight down to be able to hit Cryovane with crossbows. And then she had also sort of hopped down to hang off the edge of the wall. To, again, sort of be out of line of sight, provide cover against the breath weapon or, any potential attacks from Cryovane. But unfortunately that meant that they were still getting caught in that ice sphere. So Light and Arendiao are now both frozen to the wall. Bram and Bram and Basil are both frozen in place on the roof. Yeah, everything would have been fine if Light had made the save on being frozen in place. They could have disengaged for free and just jumped back over the wall. Yes, this is true. But unfortunately, because they were frozen in place, they did some more punches. They were able to, I believe, poison Cryovane again on this. Oh, that was the other thing Arendiao had tried. So Arendiao has her own ability for poisoning. and it's different than the one that Light has. So Randus ruled that Arendiau could also try to poison Cryovane, and if Arendiau did it, then it would essentially extend the duration, because Light's poison only lasts for a round, whereas Arendiau's poison would have lasted up to a minute, but then Cryovane got to try to save against it every round. So Randus ruled that Arendiau could try to apply her version of the poison, and if so, it would like tick over, and it would become the Arendiau version. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to do it. I believe Cryovane made the save against it, so she just has the regular old Light applied poison, which is still not nothing. It is definitely not nothing. Especially since she can't burn a legendary resistance on it. She just has to take it, which was very nice. However, unfortunately, with Light being frozen in place, they weren't able to, like, disengage and get away, and so Cryovane was able to hit them with one last claw attack and bring Light down to 0. Which meant that they were no longer able to hold onto the wall, and immediately fell off the wall and fell down 50 feet or so to the icy rocks below, and kind of, hit the ground and rolled down onto the path that we had used to walk up. Which, is unfortunate, because the claw attack from Cryovane had brought them down to 0. The fact that they hit the ground meant that they automatically failed a death save. They almost failed too, because it was a little bit of debate over whether they hit the ground and then kind of slid and rolled, or if they, like, hit the ground and bounced and then hit the ground again. So Randus flipped a coin for it, essentially, over whether it would be one failed death save or 2, and luckily it was just the one, so they automatically failed one death save. And when she was able to sort of scrape Light off the wall, Cryovane lets out this giant, like, triumphant roar, and then is, smugly, ah ha ha ha, this one's no longer a problem, and so she flies back up onto, like, to hover over the main roof, as opposed to being down kind of over the side where she was harassing Light. So given the fact that she let out this triumphant roar and then also came back up onto the roof, the rest of us kind of got the idea that even though none of us could see Light, we kind of got the idea of, like, oh shit. Oh shit, Light. So there's that. So we kind of had the idea that the characters on the roof kind of had the idea that, okay, Light's probably fallen. Even though we didn't actually see it happen. Meanwhile, Bram's still not having a great time. Crusader's Mantle did nothing, because they were hit by something, and immediately went down again. So Crusader's Mantle had dropped. They did manage to remember that they had the Wand of Magic Missile. Well, so they went unconscious, and then I'm trying to remember who brought them back up this time. It was the second time. Was it Glint this time? I think it was Glint this time. Glint had, so she had taken a round to cast Cure Wounds on herself, chug a healing potion. She was ready to get back into the fight, and she stepped out onto the roof basically just in time to see Bram go down again. So she slid her way over, and was able to, I believe, cast a Cure Wounds on him and get him back up again. But before he could... Was it the pounce? I thought that was the third one. I thought Bram went down 3 times. Because there was the first time with the breath, where he then got up and moved and cast Crusader's Mantle. And then he went down again, because then he got frozen, to the ground. Like, he got frozen prone. And then there was the third one. Bram goes ping pong is all my notes say. Yeah, he went down 3 times. The second knockdown was a pounce. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, so he got pounced. Yes, that's true. So Glint stayed by the door, but she was able to move. That's right. You're right. She was able to move the illusion like she had done previously with light, and was able to cast Cure Wounds through that to bring Bram back up. However, unfortunately, he was still prone on the floor, and before his turn came and he could actually get up, he got frozen in place to the ground, which was unfortunate. He did have the Wand of Magic Missile, so he was able to get some little bit of damage on Cryovane using the wand, which was, I believe, the only damage he did to Cryovane at all, but that's fine. Again, he's learning that he is possibly more for buffs than he is for damage, which is fine. But he was frozen to the ground. At which point I had a couple ideas. The only difficulty with combat like this, for me, is that I'll, like, think of something and be like, oh yeah, that would probably work. I could do that. But then by the time it actually, like, gets around to my turn again, either the battlefield has changed, or the enemy has moved, or something else has happened, and now my plan no longer works. And I'm like, okay, crap, now what am I gonna do? Which is fine. That's how combat works. So Bram is frozen to the ground, and Cryovane is hovering directly above him. So this is why it's best to play a character with infinite movement. Fair, Kitty. Well, I'll come back to Bram in a minute. There's something else to handle first. So, for the moment, everybody is conscious, except for Light. We know that Light is down somewhere over the side of the keep. Probably, like, 40, 50 foot down. None of us have actually seen. But it's probably not good. And so, Basil has a spell scroll for a spell called Vortex Warp, which would allow you to teleport either yourself or somebody else up to like 90 feet or something. And so, no? Oh, you have the spell scroll for Misty Step. Vortex Warp is an actual spell. Okay, thank you. I had flip-flopped those two. Perfect. So Basil has the actual spell Vortex Warp. So Basil's initial thought is like, okay, crap, like, should I... Who still has healing? Like, can I teleport Glint down to where Light is? Can we... if I go over to the wall and I'm able to get eyes on Light, can I teleport Light up here? Like, how can we do this? But eventually we figured that the easiest thing to do is actually to send Watson, who, as a reminder, is currently in the form of a little, like, shoulder fey dragon. And Watson has a fly speed and also invisibility, so Watson could, like, fly off without attacking or without provoking an attack of opportunity from Cryovane, who is hovering, like, directly above them at this point. So Basil has Watson turn invisible, sends Watson to go grab a potion of healing from Glint, because Glint has one still in her bag. So Glint, like, holds out this potion and lets the little dragon, like, fly by and grab it. And then Watson is able to fly over the edge of the parapet down to where Light is. And I imagine it must have been very surreal for Light. half considered being like, guys, let Merlin take her turn. You are in the middle of combat. There is no time to chat. I was kind of surprised you didn't, actually. I was expecting you to. Because it did get kind of drawn out, the debate of what to do. I am kind of surprised you didn't just push Merlin to make a decision. But anyway, yes, we eventually came around to the idea of Watson grabbing this potion and flying down to where Light was. And it must have been very surreal for Light to wake up to just this potion bottle being shoved down their throat by an invisible tiny dragon. I'm imagining Watson just like jumping up and down on the potion bottle to like jam it further down Light's throat. Just be like, come on, come on, come on, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up. So Light, like, you know, snaps awake. And you know, regains a handful of HP. This is not the weirdest thing that has happened to Light this 10-day. That's true. That is very true. So back to Bram. So Bram is currently frozen prone. Like he's fallen and frozen to the ground. He can't even get up. The dragon is hovering 15 feet directly above him. I had a couple ideas at this point, and I'll talk about them because neither of them ended up being relevant. The one that I was probably going to do if it had gotten around to my turn again was probably the Wand of Magic Missiles again. Oh, I completely skipped something too. Because I forgot at exactly what point it occurred. I completely skipped one of the layer actions. So, rewind. About halfway through the combat, Light has not fallen yet. Light is still hanging off the wall. And Phalar has just hit her with a second chromatic orb. It comes around to the layer action's turn again. This was after the one where she had done like the glittery like holographic armor. So it gets back around to the layer action. The glittery holographic ice armor just kind of, we watch it kind of dissipate. And it dissipates into like this, you know, icy mist that sort of swirls around her. And as this icy mist is swirling around her, she starts inhaling, as though she's like inhaling to do her breath weapon again. But so she keeps inhaling and inhaling more and more of this icy air. But then rather than exhaling it out, instead she does this big inhale, and then it's almost like she swallows it, or like she, you know, ingests it, all of this icy essence that she's brought into herself. And we watch as like the wounds that we had inflicted on her, and like all of the scratches and the scrapes and the cuts and the burns just start to slowly mend themselves. So turns out one of her layer actions that she can only use once, because it does consume all of her hit dice, allows her to basically heal all of her. Yeah, that was actually the exact thought that I had. I was like, oh, she used swallow instead of spit up. I actually had that exact thought, Randus, during the session. Yeah, that's exactly what she did. It allows her to basically consume all of her hit dice at once. Yeah, so Randus had taken a screenshot. Before Phalar's turn, he had, I believe, 36 HP. And in that round with the chromatic orb, Phalar had managed to do 26 damage to her. So yeah, she was at 10 when she was able to heal. If even one more of Light's attacks had hit previously, she would have been dead. But no, instead she heals herself for roughly 120. And then goes on to, you know, knock Light off the wall, cause general mayhem and chaos, etc., etc. Totally forgot about that. Well, no, I didn't totally forget about it. I thought about it a couple times and was like, no, I'll bring that up in a second. And then I forgot about it. Yeah, 16d12 hit points. Yeah, Merlin and Kara both swear, quite loudly at Randus. But you know, fine. So yeah, so now back to where she is hovering over a prone Bram. We have done a fair amount of damage to her after the healing at this point. We don't know exactly how low she is, but she's gotta be getting close. So my thoughts for Bram, if it had gotten back around to his turn, were to either most probably, use the Wand of Magic Missiles for just, you know, some more damage, because it's not insignificant. Especially if I burn 3 charges. Which I did have and could have spent. My other thought was, so on the previous turn, we had gotten her down to, we knew she had 1 legendary resistance left between the poison and the stunning and some other things. We had burned through all of her legendary resistances except 1. And Basil has this spell called Hypnotic Pattern, which could have charmed her if she had failed her save. Or she could have burned her last legendary resistance on it. But, you know, if it burns her last legendary resistance, then good. We know she doesn't have any more, and we can start, like, actually trying to inflict status conditions on her. So my initial plan, and I'm telling you about it because it would have been so cool if it had worked. There was like a 2% chance it would have gone off to plan, but if it had worked, it would have been so cool. My plan was, if Hypnotic Pattern had hit, unfortunately it didn't, she was able to make the save, but if it had hit and it had burned her last legendary resistance, so we knew she had no legendary resistances left, she was hovering directly over Bram. Bram was considering trying to use command to command her to go prone, which would have brought her down directly on top of him, but then his plan was to hold the dragon slaying sword directly up to have her fall onto the sword. It would have been so cool. But no, it's neither here nor there. It would have been very cool, but it is not what happened. So, yeah, so it doesn't actually even get back around to Bram's turn. So it ended up being somewhat lucky the way that it happened. So Cryovane had clawed Bram for a 3rd time, and, well, clawed him again and took him unconscious again. He actually went down 4 times. So she had pounced him again and taken him unconscious again. When out of nowhere, well, not out of nowhere, over the edge of the parapets comes Light. Because as a reminder, as a tabaxi, Light has a climb speed. And as a monk, he has extra movement. And as a tabaxi, he has feline agility. So he was able to use all of those things to scale up the 50 foot of wall and, you know, fling himself over the parapet back onto the roof, and somehow managed to make their dex save to not slip on the ice and make their way over to Cryovane. And luckily, the way that the Eldritch Tattoo works is it doesn't go away when you go unconscious, because it's not a spell or anything. It's a magical item that gets, like, activated for a certain amount of time. So Light comes, you know, bolting over the edge of the parapet, slides across the ice, up under Cryovane's, you know, tail end, and uses bonus action Flurry of Blows to just lay into the dragon's ass. Luckily, the first of those, they managed to use a healing boop on Bram to bring Bram back up to, you know, a handful of HP. I think it was about 6 HP. So Bram is at least up and conscious again. Yeah. Light does monk bullshit ×2. Yeah, Flurry of Blows manages to boop Bram for a little bit of healing. and then manages to attack Cryovane for just enough damage to kill her. Like, I believe from what Randa said, to the exact HP. Like, she had 12 HP left, and Light did 12 damage. So, Light manages to kill Cryovane, which is very good. Except for the fact that she's hovering 15 feet above them. Yeah, 32 damage in the round. Did 20 with the first attack, and then 12 to exactly bring her to 0. Yep. As she dies, she lets out this horrific, you know, screaming roar of pain. And does psychic damage to... Well, so first she falls. She, you know, having been killed midair, she falls straight down, landing on top of Bram and Light, and doing enough bludgeoning damage to instantly knock both of them out. So Light and Bram are both now unconscious again. Bram is currently being crushed by the dragon corpse because he was like Light was kind of off to one side, and Light kind of got knocked out by, like, you know, like the bulk of the tail and like a back leg, like falling on top of them and sort of pinning them to the ice. Bram is under like the center of the dragon. And it becomes very, very good that Light was able to restore even a couple HP to them, because if Bram was still unconscious when the dragon fell on them, it would have been an automatic death failure for taking damage while unconscious. But no, they were awake. So it just knocks them out again. It's fine. And so she hits the ground, knocks Bram and Light out, and lets out this horrific death scream, which does psychic damage to both Basil and Glint, and knocks Basil out. So Basil is also unconscious. She screamed something in Draconic, and Basil does speak Draconic, so Basil is aware of what she screamed in her death throes last words, but hasn't been able to relay it to the rest of us yet on account of, you know, being unconscious. Yeah, if Kite had a nickel for every time they caused a dragon to fall on their character, they'd have 2 nickels, which isn't much, but it's weird that it happened twice, because, yeah, if you remember the blue dragon, when we killed it, fell on top of Lash. So yeah, this is now the second time this has happened to Kite. So yeah, so Basil and Bram and Light are all unconscious. The dragon is dead. Trying to remember the exact sequence of events. So it became very funny for me because the following, like, 20 minutes or so is everybody else panicking, trying to figure out how to get Bram out from under the dragon, and I'm just sitting here going, it's not my problem. They'll figure it out or they won't. I don't have anything to contribute here, so I kind of stopped paying attention a tiny bit, because I was like, they'll figure it out or they won't, one or the other. So, yeah, I'm trying to remember who, I think it's Glint that gets Basil back up. Glint's double is still out, so yeah, that's how you felt about Light at the bottom of the mountain. It's like, yay, either they'll live or they'll die. Yeah. At a certain point, it's out of your hands. I believe Glint is able to get Basil back up. Oh, or Phalar. Yes, somebody is able to get Basil back awake. Basil is able to get themselves up and slide around on the ice to be able to feed a potion to Light. No, Arendiao was a bit later. Basil was able to, like, effectively get themselves around the dragon corpse to be able to potion Light. and also use. So they did finally manage to use. So part of the debate was, can Basil use Vortex Warp to move the dragon corpse off of Bram and Light? Unfortunately, Vortex Warp specifies that it must be a creature. And since she is now dead and a corpse, Cryovane has ceased to be a creature. A corpse is treated more like an object or a terrain feature. So can't use Vortex Warp on the dragon. And the problem is that Bram is like so centered underneath the mass of the dragon that you can't see him. Like there's no bit of him that's sticking out. Can't be targeted by anything because you can't see him. So Basil can't use Vortex Warp to like warp Bram out because they can't see him to target him. However, they are able to use Vortex Warp to warp Light out from under the bulk of the dragon's ass, and sort of get them back up on their feet. Yeah, very neatly solved. Oh, okay, yes, there we go, thank you. Arendial potioned Light, and then Basil warped them. Perfect. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And so the other problem is that since Bram is, you know, under the giant bulk of this dragon, he's rolling death saves under suffocation rules, which means he's rolling them at disadvantage because he can't, you know, he is actively being suffocated by the bulk of the dragon corpse on top of him. So I fail one death save with the suffocation disadvantage. But it's just one. Probably fine. It wasn't a nat 1, I just failed the 1, so it's fine. Glint has the good idea of, well, what if we, you know, the dragon corpse is huge and is completely covering Bram, but it's not like it's a solid mass. Like, what if we send Mint in, like, wiggle their way, you know, between, you know, under a leg here and behind a, you know, a breastbone here, and like find a little wiggling crevice to be able to get to Bram, because Glint is able to cast spells using Gaze of Two Minds. So she would be able to Gaze of Two Minds with Mint. If Mint can like get to Bram and get in contact with Bram, then Glint would be able to cast like a Cure Wounds through Mint to heal Bram. So that's potential. It'll take some checks. Like Mint will actually have to like make some checks to try to like see if they're able to wiggle and find a path underneath the dragon corpse to be able to get to Bram. While Mint is kind of wiggling their way in, Phalar recasts Bigsby's hand, because Bigsby's hand is able to move something that is huge or smaller. And so luckily, Bigsby's hand is able to shove the dragon corpse 20 feet. And I was briefly concerned that Randus would allow the shove, but would say that Bram was shoved with it. So it's just like the entire mass gets moved 20 feet and we're still have the same problem that we did previously. But no, luckily not. Bigsby's hand is able to shove the corpse off of Bram. I'm assuming probably, like, I'm picturing it kind of like rolling off almost. Is able to shove the dragon corpse off and free Bram. Mint like pops back up into a little cube from where they had been squished down, like wiggling under the dragon. They just kind of pop back up. Yeah, Mint boings back into cube shape, exactly. Cartoony style. Offering a badly needed bit of levity to the situation. It flicked the corpse with the hand's middle finger. I love that. Perfect. No notes. However, as the corpse is being pushed off, it is then Bram's turn. So I have to make another death save. However, this one, since there is no longer a dragon corpse on him, is just at straight rules, and this one I make. So I've had one success and one failure. And before anything else needs to happen, Arendiao is able to come over and shove a potion down his throat, and get him up unconscious for the 4th time in... Assuming your notes are accurate, from positioning complete and holding contact actions to Bram being potioned was 8 rounds, 48 seconds. Neat. "48-second fight." Jeez. Less than a minute. But I mean, that's how combat goes, probably. Dang. So yeah, we fought and killed a dragon. Everybody survived, eventually. Yeah. It was an exciting fight. It was great. Like, not gonna lie, it would have been amazing if we had managed to kill Cryovane before she healed. But, like, the fact that she did heal made it such a more dramatic fight. Like, I don't know. I'm in this weird place where I feel like Bram really didn't do that much, but also it felt like a really fun, really cool fight. The idea of sending Bram with the dragon didn't occur to me because I picture a shove as a rolling. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And the reason that it occurred to me was because the entire floor was ice, so I was wondering if maybe because of the ice it would be more of like a slide than a roll. But yeah, that makes sense. Hey Barris, you have arrived right at the very tail end of the D&D recap. Cliff notes, Bram died 4 times, Light died once, Basil died twice. 3 times. Basil died 3 times. Glint, Phalar, and Arendiao died 0 times. And the dragon died, which is important. Bram was a damage sponge, which probably saved everyone. That was my other thought, yes. Is he is in fact the tank, and this is what a tank is supposed to do. He is holding aggro and taking attacks so that everybody else doesn't have to. That is indeed my thought. The only slightly awkward bit is Bram had kind of been planning to dramatically name the dragon slaying sword after killing Cryovane. But considering he didn't even manage to hit Cryovane with it, that now becomes very awkward. So I think he's probably going to wait. And I'm expecting the dragon slaying sword to be extremely helpful when we finally start fighting kobolds. So that's probably when he'll decide to dramatically name it. Yeah. Glint's Channel Divinity also came in clutch. That duplicate, because it was able to move around without being impeded by the difficult terrain of the ice, that duplicate really did come in clutch. It was able to cast like 3 or 4 healing spells that Glint would not have been able to get to. So yeah, that was extremely helpful. Branda stopped hitting Phalar after that one round where it was 3 misses. I think it was more that Phalar was very wisely staying at the opposite end of the arena, and she didn't feel like flying that far when she had other more tempting targets that were closer. You were a bit devastated not to get to use the spell that you prepared just for this. Yeah, I'm sure it'll come in handy. I'm sure you'll be able to use it at some point to great effect. Ah yes, Light did successfully walk inside. That is very true. But yeah, I'm very amused that. So luckily, I rolled no nat ones this session, and the one nat 20 I rolled was on that first death save. So that was fun. Also, hello, Kuma. Welcome. Resubscribing for the 32nd month. Thank you, thank you. You have come in just at the end of the D&D recap. Ads on mobile. That is extremely rude. But yeah, it was a great session. That is one boss fight down. We have taken care of Cryovane. Still remaining, we have that Kobold army to deal with, which I'm guessing and assuming will probably be our next priority, because I'm guessing they're probably not going to be super happy that we have killed their dragon. Or the dragon that was patronizing them. I don't know. We don't know exactly what that relationship was, which does concern me a little bit. We did beat the dragon, and no one permanently died. Yeah, Light got to run up 50 feet, a 50-foot vertical wall to punch it in the hindquarters. Yup. Bram was only unconscious 4 times. Bram was unconscious 4 times, and I only had to roll 3 death saves. So that's actually pretty good. Yeah, so Bram was unconscious 4 times and had to roll 3 death saves. Basil was unconscious twice, but I don't think they ever had to roll a death save. I think they got brought back up pretty quickly both times. Light was unconscious once and had to roll 2? Yeah, Light fell down a mountain. Light fell off the roof. Well, fell off the wall that they had put themselves on. You think you rolled? Yeah, I think you're right. You failed one automatically for falling, but then I think you're right. I think Watson got to you before you had to roll your next one. I think you are correct. I mean, if it makes you feel any better, Kara, I had also specifically taken a spell of like, hey, cool, now Bram can hit a flying dragon, and I also did not end up using it. It would have been much less cool than the Psychic Lance, but I was very proud of the fact that he now has a range damage spell, and I didn't get to use it. Because I realized very quickly that my spell slots were better used for other things. Wi-Fi being garbage? Oh no! Not the Wi-Fi's. How rude. My pattern here, and then I should actually take my break. Because as usual, the D&D recap took a bit. And it is in fact now break time. So, everybody get up, stretch, move around, grab refills on your drinks, run to the bathroom, all the usual good stuff. But don't go too far. I'll be back in a couple minutes, and then we will continue doing more of this, because I need to be working on it. Yeah. Attempting to make it more narrative is going to be hard, as evidenced by my fumbling through the recap this time. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. Alright. Have returned. Alright. Coffee. Alright, so as you can see, we are in fact making very good progress. We have started the Crest of Sincerity. Promise that's green. And we're actually almost done with the Digivice. Well, almost done in the sense that there's still 1, 2, 3, 4 rows left. So yeah, almost done. Only 4 rows out of how many rolls is it in total? So the problem is I don't know how. I have the pattern, but I don't know how high above the highest point of the pattern I'm gonna keep going. Probably another 3 or 4 rows. Oh yeah, it's just 4 more rows of the Digivice. But I don't actually have a total row count for the pattern. Oh, out of how many rows for the Digivice? I'd have to count. 2, 4, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and plus 4, 25 rows. Looks like the Digivice is a total of 25 rows tall. So 80% done by row count. Yeah. And like I said at the top of stream, I should know, hopefully within the next 24 to 48 hours, whether or not it's been accepted for the craft-along. Because notices should be going out tomorrow. If it is accepted, then I start working on a deadline. If it's not accepted, then that's fine. I keep working on it anyway, just not on a deadline. Have to have wifey keep an eye out. Ooh, did she submit a proposal? That's exciting. You don't have to say more about it if you don't want to, Kuma, but that's very exciting. I wish her luck. Got inspired after seeing all the shadow boxes from years past. Ooh! Shadow boxes are awesome. But yes, supposedly they should be giving answers by tomorrow. Was their goal when they opened application. Kara also put in a proposal. She's got, so if anyone has played Monster Hunter World, you know how they have the really cool, like glyph style, like monster icons that are on like the hunt bills and stuff? She has cross-stitch patterns for a bunch of those. So she's cross-stitching a set of, probably, like, the goal is 4, but if she has time, she might do 1 or 2 more of monsters from Monster Hunter. So that'll, like, they look, she's already started on them and they look really cool. Yes, applications closed on the 11th. I have actually had a prize not accepted. I put in a proposal in 2020, I think, for a quilt that did not get accepted. But since then, in 2021 and 2022, no, I put an application in 2021 that was not accepted, and then 2022 and 2023, I did the charms. 2024, I did the desert blanket, one that was corner to corner pixel art. And then last year, 2025, I did the Minecraft scarf. And then this year I'm doing this. In hindsight, it's probably a good thing that they did not accept my quilt proposal, because I would have probably killed myself trying to make it. Yeah, the Punch-a-Chunk scarf. Wait, is that... Oh. Correct. Incorrect color. I'm still, like, super pleased with how that Punch-a-Chunk scarf turned out. It looked really cool. I am not against doing more of those in the future. That was a lot of fun to do. One, two, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 6. Okay, so 1. To be fair, 2020 was the weird year. Yeah, so 2020 is when Kara and I really started watching Desert Bus again. So we had been kind of like vaguely aware of Desert Bus for quite a while, and in fact, you've probably heard me mention, I actually did submit a quilt to Desert Bus 2014. I submitted a quilt in 2014, like right as the craft along was starting, because Kara's brother has been really into Desert Bus and was actually a site volunteer for a year way back when. So we've been kind of like vaguely aware of Desert Bus, but like even the year I submitted the quilt, like we kind of watched some of it, but like not really. I was just kind of like, oh yay, exciting, it earned this amount of money. 9 was 2015. It might have been 8 then. I can never remember. I just remember, like, yeah, because I just remember being like, oh yay, it raised like this amount of money. That's great for charity, hooray! But didn't like actually like really watch it or become involved. I think we watched like some of 2019, but then 2020, as you might expect, was the year that we kind of really were like, oh, like let's watch this, and like got really into it. So then 2021 was the first year that I like submitted a proper craft along proposal. That one didn't get accepted, but then I continued to do so. So we've been like really into like watching Desert Bus and like participating and stuff since about 2020. I came to Desert Bus very late. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, because I have the pictures that I took of that quilt, and I think the timestamps on them are 2014. Let me double check here. I do in fact have them. Let's see. Timestamp on this photo. This photo was taken, oh no, this photo was taken in September 2015. So yeah, it would have been 9 then, in 2015. Really, I made that then? I could have sworn I made that the year earlier. Huh. But yeah, looks like it was indeed EB9 in 2015 then. Bus is glad to welcome those who will ride along. Ain't that the truth? Yeah, and for anyone that might be watching that doesn't know what we're talking about, Desert Bus for Hope is a charity fundraiser that runs usually in November. This year it will actually be in October. That benefits Child's Play charity. And it is a great, fun, silly cause. Well, the cause, it's not silly, but it's a great, fun, silly fundraiser put on by a wonderful group of people. And part of that is they do a craft along where people can submit crafted, usually nerdy, but crafted items that will then be auctioned off, and all of the proceeds will also go toward the charity. And that's what I'm making this blanket for. I have submitted a proposal to hopefully have this blanket accepted for the Desert Bus auction. If it doesn't, that's fine. I'm going to keep working on it and keep it for myself. But hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll decide to accept it, in which case I will have to finish it and ship it to them before the deadline, and then it'll be part of the fundraiser. Count thing. 3, it looks like? Yeah. Dark gray and my black are very similar colors on the pattern. But yeah, I wish your wife luck, Kuma. And if she gets accepted, I really look forward to seeing what gets produced. Shadow boxes are always amazing. And if you don't know about Desert Bus, but you hear me rambling and go, hey, that sounds really cool, their website is desertbus.org. You can go there to learn a bunch more about it, about the people that put it on, about Child's Play, which is the charity that it benefits. Yeah, it's a great time. Join us. What I should do is untangle my yarn a bit here. Gravy. How did I manage? Alright, you go under her. That's fine. You. Come here. Come here, yarn ball. So, what did I do? Ow. There. I managed that. Okay, there we go. Better. Sasha is demanding your pizza pops? Well, tell her no. They're probably not good for a kitty. Other than that, I cannot help you. Also, how is your pasta going, kits? You've decided to pop your head back in. Also, a reminder to anyone else, if you need to eat, please go eat a thing. You're in a time zone where you should be getting lunch or dinner, or breakfast, or a snack. Do so. Have eaten it? Excellent. But moving hurts? Yeah, but hungry also hurts, Varys. Were you doing a practice ride or did you go swimming again? Did a ride, 70 to 80 kilometers. Damn. Well, no wonder it hurts. Drink lots of water. Maybe take a hot shower? Much flatter than the actual one. Ooh. Is that? I would guess maybe that it being flatter is actually both good and bad, because at least with hills there's also the downhill portion that makes it easier. Or is flatter still better? Flatter is much easier, uphill is much more work. That's fair. A good bike, you can just glide on flat. Oh, that makes sense. Downhill is inevitably uphill the other way. That's also true. I do remember that where I grew up as a kid, our local public library branch was about like maybe a kilometer away. Like, it was not that far away. So I used to be allowed to bike back and forth to the library by myself on like Saturdays or during the summer or whatever. And the last stretch, the library itself was in like a strip mall at the top of this gigantic hill. And I don't think that was me, like, my kid brain exaggerating. Like, I think it's legitimately, like, a very large hill. And I just remember as a kid, I would bike from my house to the bottom of the hill, and then I would have to get off my bike and, like, push it up the hill because it was, like, so steep. I could not even, like, ride it up the hill. I think I was able to later once I got, like, an actual 10-speed bike that had, like, a speed setting where you could, but like with just my regular 1-speed bike, I could not bike up that hill. I would have to get off and like push my bike up the hill. But then going home, it was always fantastic because you could be Superman going down that hill. I think I only ever wiped out badly once, and luckily I didn't break anything. I just scraped myself up. But yeah, I remember like going down that hill was magic as a kid. Yeah. I mean, that's what that felt like as a kid. It 50 kilometers an hour on that hill going for a solid 5 minutes. That's amazing. As long as there's like no bumps and no cracks and no tree roots. Oh no, Kuma. In a bike ride that was an effortless 4.4 miles out, but then going back turns out it was gently sloped. Oh no. I've definitely also done that kind of thing before. We used to have one of those little trailers. Because I am I'm almost 5 years older than my sister and almost 6 years older than my brother. So when they were little, we had one of those trailers, like one of those pull bike trailers that my dad would hook up to the back of his bike so that we could put my sister and brother in the trailer, and then mom and dad and I could ride our bikes. Okay. That is 4. Welcome back, Merlin. Hopefully your errand went well. Meal prepping. Excellent. Food is important. Especially if that's the whole reason you went out. Ah, fair. Also very important. Ferry you to food? Excellent. Yes, please go eat. And have a good afternoon. Thank you for stopping by. Four. I love when the amounts that I've counted come out correctly. Kara, reminder that you have tea. Ooh, spaghetti. Excellent. So next week will be either a short stream or no stream. I'm not sure yet. Next weekend is my mother-in-law's birthday, so we are taking her out to tea on the Sunday. And I don't know exactly what time we'll need to leave yet. So there may be a short stream, there may not be a stream. We'll just kind of play it by ear. This guy around again. Direction. Darn. Ah! The early birthday Kara mom. Yeah. Her birthday is actually on the Saturday, but she already has plans. So we're gonna take her out on the Sunday. There is a lovely little cafe, Italian style cafe in town that actually does a tea, but they do it with like an Italian style twist on the pastries and things, and it's really good. Kara and I actually went there for Kara's birthday, and it was delicious. So I'm gonna take her mom there. And no lie, we might drag Kite there too while they're visiting. Because I think Kara just likes the excuse to have tea. This is the same cafe that made my... Kara bought my birthday cake from them a couple years ago. And it was a cannoli cake. And it was so good. And you might be wondering, what does a cannoli cake mean? It means it is a cake with like cream cheese mascarpone icing and chocolate chips. And then on top, they just piled like 6 full-size cannoli on top of this cake, along with like chocolate curls and stuff. It was so good. Their mascarpone icing was like the best I've ever had. It was so good. Come on, blanket. Behave. It says no. Yeah, exactly, Kitsune. Oh no, how terrible to have tea. Icing so good you can hide a horse in it. I feel like you're making a reference I don't understand, but yes? Oh, because it's mascarpone. Ah ha 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 ha. Gotcha. I'm like, this is probably a pun, but I don't get it. I don't know why I pronounce it Mars. Habit, probably? You have brought this upon yourself, Kuma. Your own hubris has locked you in the pungeon. It's true, low-hanging fruit is still fruit.
Oh no, Sasha. Was it hairball? She's heading my way because she's empty and wants kibble, probably. Oh, nope. Hello. Oops. I know. Come here. Come around to this side, baby. Sasha. Hey. Up here. Or you can just cry sadly and then leave. Sasha. Meh. Oh, there she goes. Okay. I need to. Oh. Count.
Okay. 4. 14. 5, 6, 7, 14. Okay. 3, 4. 4. And 1. Drop the gray. Mistakes, regrets. Who, me or Sasha? Or you? I'm counting the entire length of my blanket. Make sure that I'm dropping yarn in the right spot. Well, I guess technically counting the entire width of my blanket. And then let's do an untangle. God. Come here, you. Ah. There we go. Freedom. Freedom for my yarn ball.
3.
Okay, so it is .1.
Uh-huh. I hear you, Sasha. Yes, I hear you. Creepy. Come on. Hey. Come here. Come here. Sasha, come here. Yeah, I know. No? You're just gonna come in and scream a little bit and then leave. Yep, there she goes.
Silly baby. Does not wish to be perceived today. By the internet, anyway. But you know what? That's fair.
I mean, that does sound correct. She hates bees.
Do another flip.
Certified hooker. I like that. Sort of a t-shirt with a crochet hook on it that says certified hooker. I've seen similar ones. One that was like #1 hooker or something. I've seen other ones along those lines. Yeah, I hear you, Sasha. Yeah. Damn, that is a toothpick. You cannot play with that. Hey. No, give that to me. Come here. Ugh. Sasha, you may not play with a toothpick. No, I'm not gonna let you go down and play with the toothpick again. Bud. Baby be in problems, it's true. Here she goes. But yeah, that will about do it for today. It is in fact 2 o'clock. So thank you all for joining me. I'm gonna go have lunch. But yeah, so tomorrow, I mentioned this earlier, but tomorrow it is in fact a holiday here. So Kara and I will both have the day off. So we are planning to do a randomizer stream, and we are planning to start a bit earlier than we normally would, since we don't have to wait until after work. Yeah, tomorrow's Victoria Day, Varys. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. We are planning to possibly go a bit longer than we normally would, but definitely starting earlier. So keep an eye out for that. Like I said, next Sunday will either be a short stream or no stream. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'll let you know as soon as I know. But otherwise, I hope you all have a good rest of your week. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Good people. I'm gonna go have lunch and pet Sasha. You should all also go have lunch. And yeah, I will talk to you in the future. And yes, I saw the post-stream board game arena. I will go and do that, and I don't know, maybe even make boards. Who knows?